welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joel Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production here at the University of Central Missouri, and it's my pleasure every week to get to visit with some of our alumni, those who graduated in communication studies, others who got their degree in digital media production, and even some who got their master's degrees. We talk about where they are today and how the program helped them get there. Today, we're talking with Ian Bailey. Ian got his bachelor's degree from Michigan State University, where he began his career in television before switching into the healthcare world. I'm going to let him tell a little bit more about that. But let me just say that in 2019, Ian got the itch for a little more education, and he decided to come to UCM to pursue his master's degree. He wanted to build up his leadership skills and get more involved in that way. So he decided UCM was the place for him, and we sure are glad it was. Ian, great to have you here. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate your time and the university's time.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to make it today. So I gave a little bit of your background. Why don't you go in and kind of fill in some of those gaps and talk about your history and what brought you here to UCM?
Sure, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I got my start at Michigan State University. I got my degree in digital media art and technology. It's a little broader, but I specialize in broadcast journalism. And so I took that, and after getting my degree, looked everywhere for a job. It was hard for a new graduate in that field. And so I eventually I got a internship at PBS in Nashville, Tennessee, WNPT. And that was the best thing ever because I had my experience from school, and PBS is a very small, all the PBSs are very small, and so ran. And so I got the opportunity to get really hands-on real world experience, and it was awesome. And so that experience got me my first job in news at WZTV, the Fox affiliate in Nashville. And I worked there for about 7 years. I started in production, did production for a couple years on the morning show, and then moved to Nightside where I edited, and then became a photojournalist from that, and loved every aspect of it. Got to do a little bit of everything. And then from there, I made the jump there in Nashville to Ascension. So the healthcare industry there, just the local Ascension St. Thomas, and joined the video team there, very small team, but we were turning out 20, 30 videos a month, and
Wow.
I loved it. Got to do everything, patient stories, leadership messages, and everything. And then because we became so well known at St. Thomas for doing all these videos, Ascension decided to make a national team. And so from that, they created a team, and then I got sucked up into that. And so now I do a lot of the same stuff, but I work for Ascension Corporate on our creative services team, and we travel across all of our markets. We have hospitals in, I think, 14 states. And so we travel all over doing everything from TV commercials to leadership messages, associate stories, patient stories. And so just get to kind of tell the stories of our company. So I really enjoy that.
So you're doing a lot of this creative content creation, and when you work in television news, the news just happens, and whatever happens, you go out and you film it, right? But now you're working for Ascension, and you have to come up with the stories yourself. So where do you get your inspiration?
That's a great question. At my root, I love being a storyteller. And even when I worked in news, when I had the opportunity to seek out stories outside of breaking news and all of that, I just loved finding people who had great stories, and everybody's got a story. And so truly, we work closely with our communications team that are in our local hospitals. And so we work with them finding the great stories and figuring out, like, they kind of pitch to us, hey, we have this patient that overcame the odds, and so we have a lot of different channels that we have feelers out in a lot of different ways and places. And so getting to kind of pick and choose of, that's really good story. That's a really visual story. And so it fills my cup getting to go and see the great work that our organization does, on a daily basis.
So I can see where your digital media background, your degree from Michigan State would give you the technical skills to do that sort of thing, right? That's what our
Sure.
undergraduate programs do. The master's program is more of a theoretical, more research-based and such. And you had mentioned whenever I'd asked you to be a part of the show that you wanted to step into more of a leadership role. So talk a little bit about how the graduate program and your master's degree here from UCM helped you in that way.
Yeah, love it. For Ascension for a long time, I was a doer, which I loved. Going out there, camera gear, on airplanes, and then after doing it for several years, I wanted to step into a more management role of being able to hire crews and being able to make the decisions of what we're filming and help lead the team, right? And so I found out that our organization had a tuition reimbursement program. And so with that, I was kind of looking around and seeing kind of what fit I wanted to stay. I live outside Wichita, Kansas now, and so work remotely. So I was kind of looking a place that was local, that kind of fit, that was completely online, that had a good reputation, had a good program that fit what I wanted to do. And so UCM was right there. Everything that they checked all the boxes, right? And it was a fantastic experience. And so, like you said, it is more theoretical, but I loved it. Now I deal with less on-site issues and more communications problems, right? More communications issues and working with other teams and all that. And so with my degree, my master's degree being in mass communications, I took a lot of leadership communications, problems in communications. And so a lot of the classes really helped me be able to address issues and solve issues in my job. And so I started there, I was a senior specialist, and now I'm one of three managers on the team.
So you were working full time while working on your master's degree, correct?
I was, and what's funny is I started in fall of 2019 and I travel a lot for work. And so my thought was, I'll spend a lot of time in airports, spend a lot of time in hotels, perfect time to study, and all that. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
We were stuck at home. And so it kind of put a wrench in the plan, but, pushed through. I had three small children at the time, working full time. But a lot of studying at night, but I enjoyed every second of it for sure.
Well, that's great. And that's the thing about your graduate program is it is information you're really interested in. It's taking you a degree uh, to meet one of your goals. So I'm glad that all worked out for you. And one of the other benefits you got out of getting your master's degree is you said that you wanted to be able to give back a little bit. And so 6 months after completing your degree, I believe it was, you started adjunct teaching at Butler Community College, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I've always had an interest in teaching, and even when I worked in news, I had a lot of interns underneath me, and at Ascension did a lot of training. So we have people in our local markets, we call them content creators that are filming videos locally, and so I work with them to record their own things and stuff. And so I always had a passion of training and teaching, and so a job came available in the communications department at my local, the county I live in, Butler Community College. And so interviewed with them, and it was a perfect fit. And so I teach editing in the fall, so currently teaching editing, and in the spring I teach video production too, so advanced video production. So loving it, loving the students, loving teaching the new generation, and it wouldn't have happened without my master's degree. So so that was a huge piece of it.
That's part of the reason we teach is we like to see those light bulbs come on that next generation and see what they're going to be able to do, right?
Absolutely.
The tech's always changing. How you tell a story. I had an old friend that had been a broadcast journalist, and he said, the way you talk to people and the way you tell a story hasn't changed. It's just the technology has changed, and so we have to keep up with that. So that's great.
Yeah.
So, last couple of questions I have for you. I like to end the podcast with this because you've been out there, you've been doing it, you've been making it happen. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a current student working maybe on their bachelor's degree here at UCM who's thinking of going to their master's, or just who's working on their master's degree? And then what's a question or a piece of advice that you would give to a prospective student who's thinking about going for that master's?
Yeah, I think first off, for anyone who's currently getting it, to really pay attention and dive into your classes. When I was getting my bachelor's degree at Michigan State, I can honestly say that like I just wanted the piece of paper. Sadly, I wanted to go do it, right? I just
Right.
wanted to graduate, and so I wasn't always paying attention to classes. And now I think that I'm a little bit older, I appreciate it more, like
Yeah.
and so I really dove into my classes, participated, when we had communication issues and problems, I used my company. I used real world. And so the benefit just from outside of even just learning in the classes, just to absorb everything you're learning and really, pay attention and get the most out of what you're learning, I think is probably my piece of advice. So.
Well, you're telling the same story I had. I did that bachelor's degree. I was like, just get the piece of paper and get out and work. And when I started on master's, because I went straight through, started on my master's, and I thought, you need to buckle down a little bit and really invest in this. So then what
Yeah.
would you say to somebody who's thinking about going for their master's degree?
I think in this day and age, to really, with a competitive market in that, to really have an edge on competition and to really just stand out there from the crowd, I think anymore, really getting a master's degree is where it's at. It opened the door for me to teach. It opened the door for me to get promoted within my company and have more of a leadership role. And UCM is fantastic. Being able to do it online, I still felt connected to my professors and everything, and it was a great experience. And it flew by. When you're in it, you're like, oh man, but I can't believe it's already been 3 years since I graduated. And so it's totally worth it if I'm giving advice. It's totally worth to check it out, and you can work it around. I had three small kids and a full-time job, and I was able to work around that to fit it in. So it's possible to, even if you think I'm too busy, you can definitely, and it's totally worth it. Absolutely.
What do they say? Work ain't work if you're having fun. Same with school.
That's right.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's
taking
right.
time. It's not hard if you're enjoying it. So,
That's right.
well, I'm
Absolutely.
glad you did enjoy it. I'm glad that you chose us whenever you were looking for your master's degree. I'm glad we ticked all those boxes for you. You're doing some great things, and we're glad you're part of Mule Nation.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It was great to meet you.
You too. Great having you on the show today. And thanks all of you for tuning in today. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music for us. Again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.